like a complete pack. You know, this is a classic example of all the fun between 40 and 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
You know, when I read about cars that have top speed of 260, you're just going to prison. You're just in jail for the rest of your life. Would you rather have this than a McLaren? I think a lot of people might.
Yeah, it's fun at any speed, really.
Yeah.
Welcome to another episode of Jay Leno's Garage, the car featuring today 1968 Ford Mustang Cobra Jet GT. This is a reproduction. Everything in this car is brand new. It's a fascinating story. Let's meet Tom Scarpello. Tom, how are you? Nice job here.
Well, thanks very much, Jay.
This is what you would call a reproduction as opposed to a replica, correct?
Right. Well, we don't like the term replica because a replica is an exact copy.
Right.
And this is really a reproduction. It has the DNA of the original 68 Mustang, but it's evolved with modern technology.
You haven't taken the original 390 and up to, it's a brand new motor.
It is. It's current production Ford Mustang GT engine. The same one that goes into the cars at Flat Rock.
Oh, okay. And what's the horsepower on this?
Well, this one's supercharged. So we do a naturally aspirated version and a supercharged. The supercharged engine in this car puts out 710 horsepower.
Well, that's pretty good.
Pretty good.
And probably a lot lighter than the modern equivalent with 710 horsepower.
It's about 320 pounds lighter than a 2022 Shelby GT500, which would be the closest modern Mustang equivalent.
Well, it looks incredible, and as you say, everything here is brand new. Do you use the original chassis?
Well, we don't. We actually build new bodies in-house. We do that ourselves.
Oh, this is a brand new body.
It is. It is. We buy the sheet metal, but we assemble it in-house. So we actually do all of the fixtures. We've designed all the fixturing to build the body in-house. All the spot welding equipment is automated. That way we're able to have the dimensional integrity to an extremely high level, and also the weld quality.
Now, if I had a 68 Mustang that I've had since junior high and been sitting in my garage, and I dragged it down to your shop, could you redo that one, or do you only do brand new?
Well, we only build the cars to spec. So every car that we built, now we've built and delivered over 190 cars to date.
Wow.
In almost 10 years of operation. Yeah, we've really grown a lot. We have 120 employees now at our factory in Orlando, Florida. And we really build the cars to spec, and they're built on an assembly line. There are 26 stations, starting with the unibody, where we call it the framing station, where the body sides are mated to the floor, and it starts to look like an actual car, and it goes through the process. And you know, that way, you know, every car built on the same platform, it allows us to control quality and to make it more efficient, ensure that we've got technicians who are specialized in those specific aspects of assembly, so that they do it the same way every time, and you really get the best possible outcome.
Okay, because in most circumstances, you drop your car off at a restore and you come back 18 months later or whatever, and it's done. Whereas this, you're turning out, how many cars a year do you turn out?
We're doing 60 cars a year now.
60 cars, okay, well, that's pretty impressive. All right, so tell us some more. So this is a brand new body as well.
It is a brand new body.
Is it any different spec-wise too? It looks like a 68 Mustang to me. Would any parts from a 68 Mustang fit this?
Yeah, a lot of them actually. You know, as far as the design, we try to be as true as possible to the original design aesthetic and only deviate where we have to for functional reasons. So for example, the wheels. So you'll notice the wheels on this car are significantly larger than the originals. Those were 14-inch, but we want to get a modern brake package. So we need a larger wheel. So this is a 17, and the rotors are just over 13 inches in diameter. So it's a good modern size brake package, and we thought that the 17-inch wheel is a good balance, you know, aesthetically. It doesn't go crazy like a kind of a resto mod, but still, I mean, it looks like it.
And which
belongs on the car.
Which brakes do you use?
We use Willwood.
Yeah, that's brakes. What we use. Yeah, they're really fantastic. They're really terrific. Okay, and no trouble getting 17-inch tires, huh?
You know, there's not that many options available, but we were able to get 17-inch wheels. Yeah.
Well, nicely done. I mean, do you commission these tires, have them made specifically for you?
No, they're factory tires that were designed for a car that used that size originally.
Okay, very nice. Can we open the hood? Let's take a look.
Yeah,
See what
absolutely.
we got here. Oh, that's a nice looking package, isn't it? Look at that. And this is the same motor that's in the Ford GT?
It's the Mustang GT engine
Right.
with the Roush supercharger.
Right.
So it was actually designed as a factory engine package by Roush. So it has, the same drivability
Right.
that you'd expect out of any modern engine. Even though it produces 710 horsepower, it idles smoothly. It'll sit
Right.
in traffic with the AC on for hours without a hitch.
And no problem meeting emissions. Emissions is stock also? You're not allowed to get away with?
Well, it has the capability of meeting emissions. Now, we don't have catalytic converters on this. We just don't have the package space for that.
Right.
But it is capable. In its original format, it met emissions.
Right, but it's a 68. Do you register as a 68?
Well, it depends. So we can do it one of two ways. One is, the example that you provided. If there's a donor vehicle,
Right.
then it would retain the identity of that donor vehicle.
Gotcha.
The other way is because we can build the whole cars. We can build it as a rolling chassis,
Right.
and then it can be registered under replica car rules, which is you buy the rolling chassis, you buy the powertrain, and mate them together and register it as a replica. So we do it both ways.
Yeah, when I got my Gordon Murray Rocket, the small car I have over there, this is 20 years ago, I had to bring it in 6 different crates, and they had to have pictures of me assembling it.
Yeah.
And then I went down to DMV, see here, I put it together. Oh, okay, and that was fine. So it's sort of basically the same thing, all right.
Correct.
Boy, it looks like a tight squeeze, but it fits in there nicely, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is a tight squeeze. The packaging is one of the biggest challenges that we face because, the modern technology in general is physically larger, right? So you've got, the engine with 4-valve heads, 4
Right.
cams, versus the old, 2-valve head, single cam in the block. The transmission, we use either a 6-speed manual or a 10-speed automatic. Compare that with a 4-speed manual or a 3-speed automatic.
Right.
I mean, it's physically much bigger. That is a bit of a challenge.
I know, it is funny to see 4 cams on a Mustang. Because when I was a kid, you could get the regular Ferrari, or you get the alloy car with the 4 cam, and that seemed like the most exotic thing in the world.
Yeah.
So now it seems like you've got it in a Mustang, which is pretty cool. What is your weight distribution? Is it about the same as stock?
Well, it's better. So in our naturally aspirated car, we're almost 50-50. It's 50.5, 49.5.
Right.
In the supercharged version, it's 52.48.
Okay.
But still, I think really good. I mean, we did a lot of work to get the engine as far back in the chassis
Yeah,
as we could.
I've got my 60 Challenger over there with the 426 Hemi. That's like 60-40.
Yeah.
It's like you go into a corner, hey,
Yeah.
you're just plowing all the way in. But I like these. These are all billet, I guess. Huh?
Yeah, they are. So we sourced those. We didn't design them ourselves.
But it looks like a functionally strong. Usually just have one, and then the wind catches it and bends it back over the windshield.
Oh, yeah.
Which I've had happen numerous times.
One thing I should point out while we're in here, one of the things that we think makes us unique is that we really focus on using OEM components.
Right.
So obviously the engine, transmission, but also the cooling system. So this is actually the current Mustang GT radiator,
Right.
Electric fans, all hoses and everything. We had to redesign the core support. So we did that in order to ensure that the engine has adequate cooling in all conditions. And we have cars all around the world, some of the hottest places on earth, including Saudi Arabia, Qatar, as well as Arizona and Florida, never had a cooling problem. We really do focus on using OEM parts whenever possible.
It's funny because this seems like the natural growth of this industry, because the number of times I had people come by with we're building this, and I get in, and inevitably the horn never works. Oh, yeah, we got to hook that up. We got to hook that up. And the customer goes out, and there's a few other things that aren't working, or it's dripping oil. There's always something, Whereas you guys, it sounds like you have virtually an assembly line process, almost like the factory, and each workstation they handle. Is that how it works?
Well, we do. There's a couple of things there. One is that our platform is a derivative of the platform that Ford used from 1964 and a half to 1970, the original Mustang. Dimensionally, it's the same, but functionally it's very different. So we use a double wishbone front suspension. We use a 3-link rear with a torque arm and panhard rod for lateral stability. We have our own electrical architecture, but every car that we build has that same platform. We've been able to develop it and refine it, over time.
So if I walked in, I wanted to buy this car, how long would it take to manufacture this car for me?
Right now it's about 6 months.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
With this, a customer can come in, test drive a car. They know exactly what they're going to get. They know how long it's going to take. They know how much they're going to pay.
Yeah, it's funny because whenever I talk to younger people that are not car people but want a classic car, why is it so hard to steer? Why do I have to press so hard on the brake? Well, that's the way it used to be. I mean, but they never drove those kind of cars, so they don't really relate to it.
Yeah.
This, you're getting a brand new everything. You're not getting the original brakes. We just sort of upgraded and painted the calipers. I mean, everything is brand new.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you touched on the key issue, vehicle dynamics. So vehicle dynamics, of course, is how a vehicle responds to driver input, propulsion system output, the operating conditions. Vehicle dynamics have come such a long way.
Yeah.
And between the 60s and the 1980s was just a massive leap. And it's kind of tailed off since, we'll say, late 80s, early 90s. But people who had not previously experienced these cars, they don't know. They don't have any idea.
Right.
Their reference point is way up here.
And what's your background? You engineer by trade?
Not an engineer. I studied business.
Okay.
I joined Ford Motor Company as a production supervisor at the Wayne Assembly Plant in 1988. And I stayed with Ford for 17 years in a variety of positions in manufacturing, marketing, and sales.
So you just do Fords?
Well, we only do Mustangs,
Okay.
and only 65 to 68 Mustangs and Shelby GTs from those model years.
All right, and
That's
there's
it.
enough of a market for those.
Well, yeah, but the thing, you got to specialize in something. If you really want to do something right, if you could dedicate the resources, you really have to specialize. And yes, there are a lot of people that are very interested in what we do. We have a lot of repeat customers. In fact, currently 1 out of every 4 cars that goes into production is being built for a current client.
Oh, that's interesting. Obviously, Ford Motor Company is on board.
Ford has been very supportive.
Yeah.
Ford, it wasn't always that way.
Right.
This is the same company that wanted to replace the Mustang with a front-wheel drive Japanese car.
Right.
But current management, very supportive. I mean, they really understand and value their enthusiast base. They understand Mustang is an iconic nameplate. It transcends Ford even.
Right.
And they're supportive. So before you go to the interior, something I want to show you.
Okay.
Very important. We spent a lot of time and effort on this, but go ahead and grab the door handle and open the door. Modern door hinges and latch mechanisms.
Right.
Back in 1968, you open one of these doors, it would be like a haunted house.
Right.
Squeaking. And you slam and it would rattle. But we've actually gone to the trouble of engineering modern hinges and latch mechanisms into the vintage door and the door opener.
Well, I kind of noticed that when I opened the door, actually before you got here, boom. I'm not going back, because a lot of times people put new rubber in, and then you're doing this all the time, trying to crush the rubber into the,
Right. One of the things we focus on is all the non-sexy stuff. The things that make the car functional. Because, a lot of people will talk about, oh, we got a 1,000 horsepower engine, or, oh, we got a carbon fiber fender. And it's like, well, but how are you going to use the car? You know? I mean, you're going to open and close the door every time you drive it.
Right.
In fact, the door handle is the first interaction you have with the car. It sets the expectation of quality for everything else that you do. So it's so important. It's not that visible, but it's very important.
I remember the window when you shut it. The window goes like.
For sure. We don't want to preserve those elements of the original.
Let's talk about the dashboard. One of the things I hate is when people do cars, they'll put some modern dash in and lose all the. I want a dashboard that reminds me, that brings me back. And you seem to have retained the original layout of these. I imagine there's any speedometer cable running through this, right?
No, it's all electronic.
Right, gotcha.
Yeah, and they look very similar to the original gauges. Obviously, they're LED backlit. There's an information center there that gives you all kinds. You got a boost gauge and oil temperature and things that it didn't have back then. Our design philosophy is to try to be as true as possible to the original design, and only deviate where we have to for functional reasons. So, in the interior, the only thing really that's significantly different from a design perspective is we have a larger transmission tunnel because we have a larger transmission.
Right.
That's by necessity. But other than that, the dash, the instrument panel layout, door panels, they're very similar to the original. We had to redesign the door panels because we cover them in leather.
Right.
The original ones were, vinyl. But everything in the interior, there's no plastic surface at all. Everything's covered either in automotive grade leather or leatherette.
Right.
The veneer there that you see is not the faux wood grain that was used on the original. It's actual walnut.
Right.
And this is a nylon loop carpet. We can also do a 100% square weave wool carpet. So really a very, very high level interior quality.
No, it looks quality. Like I say, I just meet people all the time just disappointed in having something done because, the same guy who's doing the motor is also doing the leather in the seats. And to specialize in every aspect of a car is almost impossible.
No.
So you have different people at different workstations, and that's what they do.
Yeah, the idea of this genius guy who in this slaving away in this little shop somewhere.
Why, thank you. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I mean, it's a myth.
I know.
As you said, cars, they're particularly nowadays, are just too complicated. You cannot be an expert in everything.
Right.
So, our people specialize, and we've the best fabricators, the best body people, the best painters, the best electricians, the best upholsterers. And that's what they do, and they do it consistently, and they can do it consistently well.
I know people are shocked, like, I've got some WO Bentleys from the 30s. Those were built when labor was cheap and technology was expensive. So you could have 184 little acorn nuts holding the water jacket on and pay a guy 10 cents an hour to do this.
Yeah.
Now it's completely the opposite. Now labor's expensive. Technology is almost free. It's in a lot of instances.
Yeah.
So I love the way you're building these. I like the fact that each person specializes. Even at my shop, different guys specialize in different stuff. Tell me about that steering wheel. I like that wheel.
Trying to find a wheel that has kind of more of a modern feel, but yet the vintage appearance was difficult. But it's a little bit of a deviation from the original aesthetic, but then again, we're doing it for functionality.
Right. Air conditioning, obviously.
Yeah, all the cars we build have air conditioning. They all have power windows. You see a crank handle, but it's actually a power window. You touch the
funny.
The window handle. Yeah, it's kind of a crowd pleaser. You do all this work on a car, and people go nuts about the window crank handle. One thing you'll notice is we use polyurethane adhesive for the glass, the backlight glass and the windshield.
Right.
So it's adhered to the body, and like every car built since the 1980s has had. And that, actually is good for safety. The glass won't pop out in an accident. But it also makes the glass a structural member. So it helps to stiffen up the body. Okay. And that's why you see the ceramic frit. So little details like that. If you're a Mustang Club of America judge, you'll well, why does it have this ceramic frit on here?
Right.
But most people wouldn't even notice.
Which is most popular? Which of the 65 to 68? Is it the 68 or the 66?
Our number one seller is the 65 or 66 convertible.
Okay.
Followed by the 1967 Shelby GT500.
Now, in the real world, automatic versus manual, how many do you do?
We're about 50-50.
It is 50-50.
Yeah.
You'd think anybody who wants this would want a manual.
Well, I think 50% manual mix is really high.
Yeah,
obviously.
Most manufacturers is 10%, isn't it? Something like that.
Even less.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting. So our automatic is the 10R80. It's the same one that's found in the current Mustang GT. I mean, it's a very sophisticated transmission. It bangs off shifts really quickly.
Right.
People are really happy with that transmission. I've never had anyone tell me, "Oh, I wish I got the manual."
Okay, let's see what else do we have here. Well, that's something they didn't have in '68, the automatic trunk release with the wireless.
That's true. So this is a modern trunk latch as well. So obviously with remote keyless entry.
I was watching a period TV show. It was supposed to take place in 1962. And I'm watching with my wife, and the guy gets out of his Chevy. He walks out, and he goes like this, click, and you hear beep, and the door locks. I said, well, no, I'm not watching. They didn't have that in '60. And we get in these ridiculous arguments. Oh, it doesn't make it do it. No, it's completely fake. They never had that yet. It just makes me laugh when I see things that they can't do in real life.
Right.
Okay, yeah, the trunk's just about the same size, not the biggest thing out there, but
True.
yeah.
You can get a set of golf clubs in it.
Yeah, yeah. I like the exhaust, way bigger than stock.
Yeah, well, obviously with 710 horsepower,
Yeah.
you know, the gas got to go somewhere.
Do you have traction control, ABS, and all that?
Well,
No.
we don't.
Yeah.
We don't. So it's, you know, the suspension geometry is really good. The car,
Right.
you'll feel it when you drive it. It's very responsive. It talks to you, it communicates, but it does require some attention because things happen really quickly.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that impresses me most, and the reason I wanted to do this, is the attention to detail. So many people promise a lot and deliver so little, you know. Whereas this, I just like the way you're manufacturing it and the workstations. And let's take it for a spin. Let's see how she does.
All right, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Here we go.
Use my electric window.
This car is equipped with the 17 by 9.5 wheels, so a little bit less turning radius than our standard car, our standard setup.
You know, you feel like Frank Bullitt driving this car. You watch that movie. You know, I think that movie was responsible for more people wearing seatbelts, because when Bill Hickman, the guy with the glasses driving the Charger, looks in the mirror, and they reach it down and you hear the click, and the other guy puts a seatbelt on.
Yeah.
Suddenly that made seatbelts cool.
Yeah.
You know, ooh, you know. Suddenly every kid was putting on a seatbelt.
Yeah, public safety message.
Yeah. You know, I drove that original car, the actual. Yeah. And it was just beat to crap. The holes in the floor.
Yeah.
Holes in the body where they would drill it to bolt cameras to it and every other kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think it sold for almost $4 million. It was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
You know, the mistake a lot of people make when they try to do a resto mod or something else is one guy does the body, they send the engine to someone else, and if the engine guy screwed up, the other guy gets blamed. And he had nothing. I think it's so smart to get a crate engine from Roush, drop it in. This way you get a full warranty, and you get a brand new motor.
Yeah, that's true. And you know, we're vertically integrated. You know, we do everything in house, from the construction of the unibody through paint through assembly. We do all the upholstery in house.
Right.
And it's necessary to really be able to control all aspects of the build.
Well, it's got all kinds of power. It's a lot of fun.
So we actually had Car and Driver did an instrumented test this summer of our 67 GT500, which has the same powertrain as this car. They got 11.7 seconds in the quarter mile at 124 miles an hour, and 3.7 seconds 0 to 60, which is actually faster than the current Challenger Hellcat.
Wow. Well, I give you credit for allowing them to do that. You know, I know a lot of companies would not let Road and Track or Car and Drive or any of the magazines take the product because they're afraid they might not like it. You know, I think that's great.
Thanks. Yeah, you know, driving dynamics is really the key thing that we're, you know, striving to always improve, because that's really the major shortcoming of the 60s cars. And you know, I mean, to be able to demonstrate that by, you know, giving it to a magazine and letting them do an instrumented test, for us it was really meaningful. And
the brakes are terrific.
Thank you.
Well, I see you meant about the door. When I opened it and it clicked and it just shut with the slightest amount of pressure, I didn't have to slam it. So many times there's a big rubber seal, and you know, just keep slamming it for a couple of months until the seal can, you know.
Yeah, I really want to make the cars enjoyable to use, and if you have to struggle with, you know, closures, doors, deck lids, things like that, it just takes away some of the enjoyment.
Obviously, it's not an inexpensive car, but when everything works perfectly as it should, it just seems like money well spent. Because the amount of money you can put into a car, oh my God, just trying to fix some problem. Whereas this, you're always starting out with Every part of it is brand new.
I wish we could build a more affordable car. It's just the economics don't permit it. You're doing low volume production, all new parts. These are low volume tooled parts, so they're significantly more expensive than high volume.
Well, the problem I find with a lot of people is nobody has any respect for anybody else's work. Everybody thinks everybody else is ripping them off or whatever. You know, I've had people say, charge me this much for a water pump. It doesn't cost that much. Yes, it does. You know, it's hours and hours. And you got to move stuff to get other stuff.
Yeah, I think people don't realize how much of the economics are wrapped up in the volume. It's a big difference if you're making, the original Mustang, they were doing, the first few years, 600,000 cars a year. I mean, that's unheard of, even today. And you get the amazing economies of scale, and you're doing low volume production. We're going to do 60 cars, this year. I mean, that's a prototype run at Ford.
I'm surprised the speedometer only goes to 120. I thought you would have put a 150 on there.
Well, we wanted to be authentic.
Right.
Make it look like the original speedometer. So
I guess Ford never did a 150 speedometer, did they?
Not in the Mustang.
Like I have a 61 Chrysler 300G, and that's got 150 mile-an-hour speedometer.
Oh, okay. When I was little, I used to look in the cars, like look through the window and look at the speedometer, and that told me how fast the car was.
Yeah, that's people like. Yeah. I've got a Miura that's got kilometers. The kids go, wow, this goes 320. Yeah, I've had it to 320. Whoa.
Yeah. Oh, this a guy on my street when I was little had a Corvette. It must have been like a 72 Corvette, and a 160 mile-an-hour speedometer.
Right.
Oh, wow, 160 miles an hour.
So it's about 6 months from when you order it to when you get it. Well, I suppose that's almost close to original equipment when you got. I mean, my dad ordered a Ford Galaxy when I was 16, and it was about 6 weeks, 8 weeks.
Yeah. I'd like to get that down even further, but that's about where we are right now.
Well, that's pretty good.
We did a lot of work on Squeak and Rattle, just to find all the sources. The original body would squeak and creak. So we mic'd up we do 3 different body styles. We mic'd up each of the body styles and drove it over really rough roads and tracked down where the sources of the squeaks came from.
Right.
And we would add some seam welding strategically in the body, and we added some structural pieces and things, and really tightened it up and made it significantly stiffer. I don't know how much stiffer. We are going to build a gauge so we can actually check the stiffness of the body, but I mean, we've definitely made a lot of improvements in body stiffness, which aids handling and helps to harness the additional power.
What's the red line on this?
7,500.
And this is great. You get a motor that's oil tight. It's brand new. I mean, most people don't realize there's like 10,000 parts to a car, all done by individual suppliers. Any one that could go wrong, and it's not your fault.
Yeah.
So you want to minimize that as much as possible. You get a complete wiring harness, and you get a complete engine, and you put it all together. No, I think it's great.
Yeah.
I mean, I was more fascinated by the build quality when I read about these than I was necessarily. I mean, I'm impressed with the car, but a lot of people do high-performance Mustangs. So you go, okay, and it's usually sold a bit. Well, this one has 840 instead of 820.
Right.
But if you can't get it to the ground effectively, what good is it?
Right.
Whereas this really feels like a complete package.
Thank you.
I mean, I realize 300,000 is a lot of money, but would you rather have this than a McLaren? I think a lot of people might, I mean, it brings back some nostalgia. It's fun. It's, this is the classic example of all the fun between 40 and 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
When I read about cars that have top speed of 260, you're just going to prison. You're just in jail for the rest of your life now. Whereas this, you can just have fun. Cop sees you do a burnout, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, it's fun at any speed, really. Yeah. Where a supercar, you have to really be going at, super legal speeds to.
Well, it just makes me smile because I was 18 when this car came out and never could have afforded it. It was unattainable. It was like, what? $4,000? Get the food. Nobody's got $4,000.
I know.
Crazy.
I know.
So it just makes me smile when I get in it, Well, Tom, thank you very much. The thing I like about this is like the second or third generation of reproduction, where the emphasis is on the build quality, making it dead reliable, making it as good as any new car you could buy in terms of reliability, but still having the fun. Because the biggest complaint I hear from people is they're just disappointed. It didn't start, it's leaking oil, it's too noisy. There's always something wrong or something broken, you know? To someone who can't build a car themselves and is not mechanical, also you got here, you can have all the fun with modern day reliability. I think most people would prefer to have this as opposed to a brand new car, just because it's unique. And yet you get all the dependability of it. That's great. Tom, thank you very much, my friend.
Thank you, Jay.
And thanks for doing this. I love that they're built in America, and it's providing jobs, and it's recycling American cars and making them better than they were. So
Yeah.
it's Revology. Check out the website. I think you'll be impressed. That's why he's here. I was. See you guys next week.